All right, we are live for our workshop for the month of October. I am super excited to bring you 3 radically different ways to look at the stress that's going on in your life. I'm going to get all the things behind the scenes set up, and I'll be right back with you. All right, I'm so glad you guys are here tonight. I have a full program plan for us with lots of information to provide you about the stress that might be going on in your life. And I do have notes, so you'll be seeing me look down and be looking at them, hopefully not reading from them, but just trying to get into the material the best I can. I appreciate you all so much for being here tonight. And don't forget that you can comment in whenever you need to. And if I can get the technology right, I'll be showing your comment up on the screen. I encourage you to do that. That'd be really helpful. But tonight we're going to be talking about why do we have stress and why do we react to our stress the way that we do? Like, why can't we overcome the fact that there's stress in our life? Even when we know all the things that reduce stress, why do we resist doing them? This was on my mind this week. There were a lot of things happening. People were asking me lots of things, and I was feeling a little bit of stress. And I thought, wow, this is a go-to emotion I want to explore more. I mean, I know what to do, what's good for me, but I don't do those things. It's kind of like the Apostle Paul writes in Scripture. He says, I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do. This I keep on doing. And that's a scripture from Romans 7, 18, and 19. And I just thought it's applicable in all areas of our life, right? But tonight we're going to talk about that battle within. And we're going to discover what I hope is 3 radically different ways to look at the stress that's going on in our life. Because let's face it, there's a lot of information about stress that's out there right now. But I wanted us to examine it on a deeper level and find out why, if it's all out there, why we're not doing it. So the first thing is to get all on the same page of what is stress. And I do want to say, if you're watching live, go ahead and put hashtag live in the comments. I see Lori Ann is watching from South Carolina. So thank you for being here tonight. And I have Sarah Stack and Kathy Case in the studio. So for those of you that got the link to join into the studio, you're welcome to use that. You don't actually come up on the screen. You're in my holding area, if you will, and I can see you. And then if we want to interact or talk, I can bring you up on screen. So I know everybody has a different comfort level about where they are, but I'm certainly happy to have you come up on and be in the audience with me if you want to. All right. And I see Kathy's from Virginia and Sarah is from North Dakota. So we're spanning our US for sure tonight. All right. So as I was saying, what is stress? So stress is how we react when we feel under pressure or we're threatened. It usually happens when we are in a situation where we don't feel we can manage or we don't have control. I know that's one that I feel all the time. And Kathy is joining us as well. Thank you so much. Glad you're here. So Kathy is joining us from Florida. All right. I'm wrong. Kathy is joining us from California. So my question for you tonight is, what stresses are you experiencing right now in your life? You know, it might be, and you can drop them into the feed if you feel comfortable with that, but it might be maybe you're moving. Moving tends to be an easy stress that a lot of people have, right? Some people It's recovery. So like our folks that are in Florida, recovering from the storm, or maybe it's health issues, addiction, maybe not to your own, but to members of your family or your friends. We know that weighs us down, right? Maybe we're waiting on an outcome, something like a test result, or finding out if you got a new job, or you have a contract that you're waiting to get. For us, we're waiting on a house offer, which really I'm hoping for tonight, in fact. Maybe it's something to do that's causing stress from our relationship, either with our partner, with our children, with our parents, with our friends or business partners. Or maybe it's just our health in general. Our business, right? We're either growing a business or just getting started, and we're just having issues, right? Lori says legal issues and financial strain. I'll go ahead and put that up. Oh, that's right. That's good that it does that. Okay. Another user with finances, of course, right? The fact is we have a lot of stressors. I think there used to be a scale where there was like 9 things that could happen that they compounded as you went through each one. And a lot of us, especially right now, right? It could be an economic crisis. Things are happening and they layer and layer and layer on top of each other. And we really start to feel the pressure. So tonight, as some of you heard that we're on first thing, we're talking about the 3 radically different ways that we can look at stress that's going on in our life. And I say that because there's so much advice going on right now that I'm not about to say all the things that everybody else is saying, but I wanted to look at it from the perspective of, if we know all of this and all that information is out there, what's keeping us from moving forward and living stress-free lives, right? Yeah, it could be divorce. It could be lawsuits. It could be certain diagnoses. We will all want it to stop, I know. So when we look at the different things that are going on, does anybody see a common thread that might be happening between all of these stresses? How about uncertainty? This is an area that is one of the 6 human needs that Tony Robbins likes to identify, right? We have certainty and we have uncertainty, or he likes to call it variety. We have love and significance and growth and contribution. And what's interesting is that those are kind of polarized pairs. Certainty and uncertainty, it's easy to see how they're distant. That's where we're going to focus tonight, is in that area where, oh, I love that. Lori says she's thinking about stress of the unknown. And that's perfect, because that's really where we can spin our wheels in the what if scenarios, or the worst case scenarios that are going on. But what we want to do is, when something is uncertain, we want to think about, what do we want when things are kind of going crazy in our life? The stress of the unknown hits us, and so we want certainty. We want the known. We want safe solutions that will take care of us, right? But when we're living our lives and everything is perfect and going well, what do we want? We want something to break up the boredom. And so we're in this constant battle, right? And it's funny because sometimes we don't see it within ourselves, but we can see it in other people. Like, who has that friend that's always having the drama in their life, right? Story after story. And you're like, wow, that's a lot going on. But they have a different threshold. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. They have a different way to explore what's happening with them. Yep. All kinds of lack of control and just stuff going on. Sarah's got, she recently moved. She's got financial things going on and major health recovery from 3 brain aneurysms. And it has been such a journey for Sarah as she has recovered beautifully with what's been going on with her. The thing is, certainty, uncertainty, there's a pattern there, right? And the reality is, stress is a pattern. And I have not been putting my little banners up here to help us. So I'm gonna do that. Part of our process here is for me to learn how to use my technology even better, not be stressed about it, right? One of the patterns of life is that the more you do something, the less stressful it gets because we know how to do it. So it will be maybe 10 more times of doing this and it'll feel like second nature, and I won't be like, oh, where do I go? How do I put this up? What's the thought? So we want to look for that all the time, is ways that we can identify the patterns. All right. And we did that. What stressors you're experiencing. This is where I want to be, right here. Stress is a pattern. So let's examine that. What patterns do you already have in your life? You know, if you think about it, there's probably a lot of positive ones. Like, I'm betting you all brush your teeth every day. That is a great pattern, right? We get up, we do that. Maybe we drink coffee, exercise, eating is a pattern. We watch TV, maybe we stay up late, spend our money a certain way that we like to spend our money, maybe using our phone, always on it for social media. Those are habits or routines that happen to us, things we do over and over. And when we can see them and recognize them as patterns, then we can start to do something about them. So I would like us to start tonight with making a quick list. I'm going to make a list of the current stressors that we have in our world. Now, this is not going to be shared with anybody. This is for you. And write it quickly. It doesn't have to be, a exhortation, but just what you can think of right now. You can't get them wrong. And like I said, you do not have to share them. All right. So while you don't have to tell me what your stressors are, if you would put how many of them you have identified at this point, that would be very interesting. So just go ahead and throw a number in there. All right. Okay, so Kathy's got 7, and Sarah hasn't done hers yet. Oh, maybe you have. Remember, I know who that is. That's Kathy from California. So we have 2 Kathys on tonight, you guys. So she's got 3 stressors. Lori's got 5. And so we're running the gamut, right? But here's the interesting thing about patterns. Once you learn a pattern, it's really hard to unlearn it. So like, think about counting. When you were a kid, those numbers, right? Like, how did you get them in order? Well, once somebody taught you the order of counting, you didn't like go back and say, I can't count anymore. I mean, you practiced it, but once you have it, once it clicks, that awareness is with you forever. And so you're always going to see it. Like those pictures where they used to be like fuzzy and you'd stare at them and then all of a sudden the picture would pop into view. Once you saw the picture, you couldn't like blur it back up. And so our brains, number one, they're designed to look for patterns. It's what helps us. But we start to think about the patterns in our life, and we might be able to dig in a little bit deeper into what else might be going on. So is there any awareness there about patterns that you might be having? If you look at your list, do you see any pattern? For instance, there tend to be 3 different types of patterns. There are external patterns, meaning like things that happen outside of us. So the recession, we don't really have control over it, but it could be an excuse. We could say that we are stressed out because what's going to happen next? Who knows, right? Or it could be someone in our life. I don't want to say we blame them, but when I was in my alcoholic marriage, it was the thing. It was what I focused on. I couldn't live my life my way because he was drinking all the time. That became a stressor that was a loop. It was a pattern that I just blamed everything on that, and I never saw anything else going on in my life. or it could be ourself. And I got to tell you, in our group, when people come into the community, I ask two questions. What is your goal, your primary goal right now? And what is the obstacle that's keeping you from reaching that goal? And I would say almost 45% of the people that come in say they are their biggest obstacle. So we identify it. And do you see a pattern there? You got to blame something. So if you can't blame the environment, if you can't blame your people, then you can blame yourself. And so what's our go-to? What's the awareness of what your stressors are? And is there a pattern to them that you might go, oh, I see. Okay, as we're going along, if you have the big aha moment, make sure you let me know in the comments, because I would like to see if this is something that's kind of making you go, okay. For instance, Kathy has put up, I love technology and technology loves me. And just so you guys know that are in the audience, I can't put the private chat up on the screen. New thing that I get to learn as I say the statement, I love technology and technology loves me. But the point to that is I had a lot of struggles with technology. This last year has been about me struggling with, it was this constant thing where I was saying technology was the problem. Technology was the problem. I just had all these technical problems. And I got to the point, I'll answer in a second, Sarah. I got to the point where I was saying, now, wait a minute. It's not a problem for anybody else. Why is it my problem all the time? Why is that where I get stuck? And as soon as I started questioning my pattern of saying that, I really started realizing it's my excuse. It's so I don't have to deal with it. I can say this thing that throws me a loop and allows me to basically get myself off the hook for finding the solution. So as you analyze those, you'll start to see something, I think. And then we're going to look at, okay, so Sarah asked, what were those three again? So it's external, someone else, and ourselves. Yes. All right. So the second thing, okay, Kathy has put something here. So her insight that I'm going to share with you guys is, even when it is external, we can still respond in a better way. Definitely. We do not have to get stressed, but rather realize that it is beyond our control and we can find a better way to respond. And I think it's beautiful the way when Tony Robbins does his spiel, and he's big right now on it's winter. Winter is coming. Winter is here. The stress of that. And he's done a great job of showing us through the book, The Forthcoming, that we are in the stage of winter. But if we look historically, winter has happened about every 100 years. And winter is just a metaphor for when things in our history have a downfall and we have to live through something that's horrific, like the Civil War, our world wars, those things that change us completely and we start over a different way. But what he likes to say is there's never been a winter that lasted forever. There's been lots of long, hard winters, but what always follows winter? It's spring. And that's a pattern. And so when we know, even externally, that something is going on, we can always rest assured that something better is going to come next. The pattern is such that spring is coming. So we don't have to be stressed about it. And I have used that a lot because, there's so much news that's telling us that all this is going to be so bad. And I just keep thinking, okay, but the other side of this is spring, and spring can be hopeful and it's beautiful. And there's so much that can come out of this. So if I can keep the joyful feeling within me, then I can share that with others who are stressed, and my light will help their light. And we can be helping everybody not be in a state of dilemma and gloom and doom. Okay. And Lori says hers is a reaction to other people in a way, right? Like she's recognizing it's something, but what can we do to put our finger on what exactly is that? So what we're going to look at next is, what is our pattern? And when we identify it, what is the size of the stressor? Okay. Because the size of your stress matters. And this is what I mean by that. Stress is a personal thing. Okay. Because we can have the same experience and I see it as something that's not that big of a deal, and you see it as a showstopper, right? We know about it. People have different levels with the same thing that happens. And so, is it really a stressful thing, or is it our response to the stress that causes the problem? And unfortunately, what happens is we get stuck in a cycle where we identify everything as stress and we can't disalarm ourselves. And so we feel something is stressful and everything becomes a problem. Every problem becomes stressful. Now, Tony Robbins likes to say that if we don't have problems, we're not growing. And he says that life is actually designed so that we will grow. Like, for instance, if we went to go see a movie and the movie had this like hot looking star and he was married to this beautiful woman and they had a perfect family with perfect house. He had a great job. They had all the money they needed. Nothing was wrong in their world. How many of us would go to see that movie? It just wouldn't be that interesting, right? Because we all know how it would turn out. It would just be perfect sunrise at the end, happily ever after. Think of our Disney movies, right? They know not to follow that model. They always have the dilemma that happens shortly after you fall in love with the characters. Somebody has this horrible tragedy, and then the rest of the movie is about their journey to get to the other side of that. And then they have the happy ending. We are attracted to that growth that comes from our struggles because stress is a survival mechanism. The brain acts the way it was designed thousands of years ago, right? The fright, the flight, or the freeze. We feel a certain way as a sign that we actually need to take action or do something because of it. But if we get stuck in the we always have to be stressed about everything, it shuts us down. So one of the things that we can do, because our problems in the 20th century are not necessarily a one-size-fits-all problem like we had back when we were being chased by lions and tigers and bears, right? Because we have a certain maturity about us as we have evolved. Even our own selves. Like when I was a child, I was terrified of bees. And when I saw a bee, I was like running to my mom and get it away from me and so on. Now when I see a bee, totally different experience. When there is a bee in my midst, what tends to happen is I think, oh, those poor bees. It's so great to see a bee because bees are dying in our world. So I want to welcome the bees in. And I don't swat it and I don't run and I don't try to get away. Look at the growth there, right? Now I know that I don't need to be threatened by something that scared me when I was 5. So I have evolved. Now we need to just evolve deeper in our almost our subconscious thinking. We need to analyze it more and call it out and be like, do I need to be afraid of this thing? Do I need to be stressed by this thing? Or is it just a growth opportunity? And so the cool thing is we have seen evidence of our ability to control our reactions to stressors. And as we start to look at it, when we see kind of our success at it, we can think, I do know how to handle this kind of a thing. So, for instance, let's say you hear the toaster pop and, it kind of gives you that jolt. And for a second, you're like, oh, and most of us can go, oh, it's the toaster, no big deal. But some of us, maybe we're in a car accident at one point, the tire blew and we heard that sound and we just embodied the trauma of that moment. And when that toaster pops, we have a severe reaction and we don't even know why it's happening. We don't think about associating it back to the car accident with the tire where we were freaked out. So as a result, we have a trigger. It causes us to act a certain way and we don't reduce the stress. We don't say to ourselves, it's okay, because we're still trying to figure out, why am I acting this way? What's wrong? So what we want to do is have associations that benefit us in the long run, that we can say to ourselves, it's okay, we're going to be fine. So do you have a system currently that helps you evaluate your problem so that your body can calm down when it perceives a problem? go ahead and put in the comments if you have a technique or a tool or something you do that could be useful. I know that some of the normal ones, people will meditate. They will do like an EFT, box breathing, essential oils. I love that, Sarah. There are lots of good ways that you can work through some of your stressors. Lori Ann has a great one. Since I can show hers, I'll do that. She talks it out with a family member, or she writes it out. I journal like crazy. No one ever reads my journals, but I get so much of insight and reflection when I'm writing down, what in the heck am I thinking? So it's really important that we investigate what it is that our reactions are based on. And I love it. I was looking this up and doing research, and I'll tell you a little story about Joe Dispenza later. If you don't know him, I would look him up online. But I happened to read just a short 15-minute or watch his 15-minute video, and I'll post it into our event information later so that you'll might want to look at it. But he's made some really great points about stress and how we train our brain about certain things. But he was really talking about our body and our mind being almost separate entities. And it's kind of like Tony Robbins will say every morning he gets up and he jumps in the cold water. And it's because he's trained his body now after all these years, but he doesn't want to get in the cold water. But he knows that if he does that every day, then when he gets presented with something in life that his body doesn't want to do, he's in control. And he says to his body, hey, I run the show and you do what I say. What's happened is we let our body be in control and things don't go the way that we want it to. So Joe Dispenza was using that example in a different way where he was talking about a dog. How do you train your dog? And he was basically saying, of course, it takes responses from you too, right? You want your dog to be able to attack the intruder. But when somebody friendly's over, you want them to sit in the corner and not be in the way. And we need to get that way with our brain. And when we do that, our brain will start to trust us and be like, oh, this is one of those situations where I don't need to be in control. Your body doesn't need to run out the door. Your body can be like, I got this. I can be calm and in this situation, I've got answers. I don't need to overreact. But just like anything else, when we have the stress and our adrenals and all the things are happening to us, we struggle with that. So we have to find our way to relax ourselves, to de-stress ourselves. And every one of us is different. I think that's why there's so many solutions out there online, is because we all need to experiment and find the one that works for us. Kathy's saying she takes a walk, and Sarah's saying she reads the Bible and prays, which is fantastic. But you need your way, and you need to be able to rely on that. So I identified, let's see, we got one more here. Okay. We are going to look really quick at what I call 4 levels of your problem. And okay, perfect. It's running across the bottom there. So the first one is a conundrum. Okay, so when we have an issue come up, might even look at your stress list and kind of look at it. The definition of a conundrum is just a confusing or a difficult problem or question. So it's just a blip in the landscape of life, right? It's just a moment where you go, like me with the technology. Oh, it doesn't work the way that I thought it was going to. I can have a major meltdown at that point, or I can step back and go, this means I've got to go talk to somebody. I've got to go read the manual, blah, blah, blah. The next one, level 2, is a concern. This is a matter of interest or importance to someone, right? This is usually when we're at a level of concern, there's a little bit of anxiety or worry. Our pastor last week said, he defined the difference between anxiety and worry, and I loved it. He said that anxiety is just kind of general. We're just stressed out about anything. Whereas worry is a specific problem that we can name. Like we're worried that our child's going to lose their job. Okay. We have a specific thing we concentrate on and send our energy to. But we need to decide if it's a concern. It's a thing. It's actually going to happen. But again, we can control our response to it, right? The next is crisis, level 3. This is a time of intense difficulty, trouble, or danger. And usually there has to be action. There has to be a difficult or important decision that needs to be made because of it. Now, again, this could be a major trigger point for you. Maybe you, as a child especially, had to do something and you were condemned for your decision. And so now you have trouble making decisions. So you had to, whichever way you turned, there was an issue. So you get like a deer in the headlights when you're met with a crisis. And the fourth one is catastrophe, right? An event causing great and often sudden damage or suffering, a disaster. And I, don't wish catastrophes on anybody. Level 4 is a different level of response than a level 1. Now, I had a friend, she taught me some great lessons as I was growing up, I will say. We were mid-20s and 30s, and she had this amazing job. She was making 6 figures way before I ever thought that was something normal people did. And when I would be stressed about something, I would tell her my problem. She would say, no, wait a minute. Is this a problem, or if you had the money, could you solve it? And I always used to get kind of irritated at her, like, this is my problem. But her idea was, if you can pay for something to solve it, it's not really a problem. It's just you're not being resourceful enough. You don't have the resources. It's not that you can't solve the problem. You can't solve the problem with your current situation. And it always just kind of expanded my mind. And now when I have a problem, I usually will say, is this a problem I can throw money at? Because if I can, it's not like serious illness, right? There's a different level there. And so it helps me get back into the frame of mind of what is the level here? And am I reacting appropriately to the level that's happening? Or am I in a looped pattern that doesn't serve me? Tony talks about us being resourceful. And he says that we need to keep going and don't quit until we find an answer. That's his definition of resourcefulness. And that's going to look different to everybody. But like for me, I had a skin condition not too long ago, and it was really weird. It started out as a 1, you guys. I had a dream that I was going to have a rash. And I just thought, well, that's really weird. And then about a week later, I got a rash. And I thought, well, that's even weirder. But okay, I can take it on. I can handle this rash. Because I dreamt it, because I knew it was coming, I didn't treat it like a big deal. It slowly worked its way up to being more of a concern, because after 2 years going to doctors, having different medications, nothing was working. And it started to be mid-level crisis when getting tests with the doctors. They were saying autoimmune disease. We're going to need to do all this crazy stuff with your hemoglobin. And I just started to say, now, wait a minute. This is not the way I want to live this. I got to come up with a different way to solve this. And what was interesting was that problem reminded me of when I was early teens. I had eczema really bad. Now, I haven't had any between those 2 periods. So we're talking like a 40-year difference here. But having the memory of this led me to remembering the doctor saying to me, because she couldn't figure out what was wrong other than the eczema, nothing helped. And she said, I'm going to go ahead and give you sleep aids so that you won't scratch yourself at night. And I remember saying, well, that's not going to solve my problem. And she said, sure it is. This is all a mental problem. And if you have this drug, then it won't affect you anymore. And I said, no, wait a minute. If this is all in my mind and I can control it, then I'm not going to take the drugs. This is me at 13, okay? I'm not going to take the drugs. I will be fine. And I never had the eczema after that. So it took this whole series of 2 years of all this stuff for me to go, now, wait a minute. If I could control it when I was 13, why am I struggling now? And so, interestingly enough, the way the synchronicity in the world works, I saw a post on Facebook where somebody else was posting in a community that I'm in about an autoimmune rash that they had. And about 80 or 90 people were commenting. And so I'm reading through all the different solutions. And over again, I saw meditation. And I thought, well, I've meditated, but I've never been seriously meditating. And I thought, this is interesting. And so a friend, shortly after I read all of that, I didn't do it right away, but a friend mentioned Joe Dispenza and meditating as a solution to my problem. She was a doctor friend. And I went, okay, all of this is happening together. I better go watch some Joe Dispenza and see what happens. I don't know, you guys, it was so weird. Just 10 minutes of this meditation. I have not had the severity of my rash since then. Now, I'm doing a lot of other things. I'm mixing with my diet and so on, focusing on a solution, but I am seeing a different response. In fact, I'm in a 90-day goal accountability thing. And every day I write my 90 days goals down, 3 goals that I'm going to achieve. And when we started the 90 days, which was about 45 days ago, I would write down, I no longer want to have a skin disease. I'm going to overcome my rash. And I was realizing that I was writing it every day in a negative format. I was saying it in such a way that I was focusing on the scratch and the disease. And so now I am writing, I have vibrant, healthy skin. I have amazing blood. I mean, every day I just kind of fix it a different way. But I am shifting my focus to a solution set and not making it a catastrophe. I'm not going to let those other things happen in my head, at least, because I want to be able to tell my body, now, wait a minute. I don't need to react to everything going on. So everybody's different, you guys. I recognize we all have these different levels, and what you're going to do for a catastrophe in your life is not the same as you're going to do for the blip on the screen. But you analyze, you decide, you start really thinking about, how am I treating all of my stress? And is it all on the same scale? And is that what's blowing my system out of control, right? When we get too much to deal with, we shut down. So let me just go to the next page here. All right. So it's interesting. One of the things that Tony says about resourcefulness is this sentence here. And I'm going to take that one off. Have you ever said that you've tried everything and nothing worked? Right? Because Tony says people say this to him all the time. There's no solution. They've tried everything and nothing worked. And he always calls BS on it. Now, he's talking belief systems. Okay. And when he's doing that, a lot of people take a defensive position, right? Like even you looking at that, are you thinking defensively? Are you thinking, but not in my situation. In my situation, I have tried everything. Or have you? If it makes you defensive, why is that going on? What is it? What part of you is struggling with the thought of keeping and going and doing something until it works for you? I'm going to check the chat here. And Kathy says, you always find what you're looking for in the last place you look, which is so true. So you have to keep looking. Yes. All right. So when you look at this sentence, which part is hard for you? The I've tried everything or the nothing worked? A, tried everything. B, nothing worked. Or is it the entire thing? You can say all of it if you want. Think about the reaction you're having to it, just in general, just to this little simple statement. Is it an unfair reaction, like, but, or is it that maybe, when I was writing this, I was thinking, when I'm stressed about something, sometimes I just want to break down like a little girl and have a tantrum on the floor. Like, give me the answer now. Why do I have to go through this? Or is it anger that rises up within you? Is there some kind of injustice? Those are clues, you guys. If we're looking at the solution set that only we have, and like Kathy says here, when she's stressed, she can't think outside the box. For another answer. And maybe that even adds a little bit of stress to the situation, right? But what if there was a different way to do it, right? Have you ever had success with stress before? I look at weight loss. Okay. Weight loss is one that a lot of us get stressed about. Have you ever said, I've tried everything to lose weight and it just isn't happening, right? I can't lose the weight. And the reality is that a true statement? Or did you try everything? Obviously you didn't, because there's a zillion things that you could do to lose weight out there. But it's about the attitude we have going into it as to whether or not the problem can be solved. If we have the energy to solve the problem on the other side, I think we tell each other that we really let the negativity go when we're in that loop, that pattern that's going on. But on the converse, how many of us have ever lost weight before? One point in your life, did you have that moment where you lost weight? I know I did. And maybe I've tried that and that particular way hasn't helped. I mean, hormones send your body everywhere. But the blueprint for how you solve problems is probably in that solution. Because how we do anything is how we do everything. And probably there's a level of how you have lost weight in the past would help you lose weight in the current. And so we have to look at our own personalized blueprint and say, okay, well, these are all the factors. These are my triggers. These are my patterns. And when I look at that and I see other solution sets that I've had for other things, I can bring that all together and I can create my blueprint that makes me able to handle the stressors. Just like we talked about, some people have really strong reactions to the same thing and some people don't. That's because you have a coping mechanism for that type of stress that other people don't have. And so if you can apply them across the board, you'll start to see a lowering of the stress level. So the thing is, we got to allow the solutions to be solutions for us. Sometimes we know the answer. Like we said, there's all the solutions out there and that isn't going to work for me, or that's not how I've done it before. We don't want to get uncomfortable, right? So think about, again, like maybe go back and look at your stressed statements and think about the wording that you used, the meaning that you're associating to your stress. Is there some level of it that you can say, I'm starting to get a clearer picture as to why that's my crutch, why that's my place of comfort regarding stress. Because it's possible that what you're saying to yourself is just a learned response. It's just a way for you to interact with yourself. And Sarah's got it on here, like she quit smoking after 48 years. And she could make a blueprint on how that worked. And she said, yes, a light bulb moment. I love it, Sarah. Thank you for sharing that, because it's true. Like the answers are within us, you guys. That's what I love. Is that we are so capable, so much more capable than we think. In fact, we're going to go to the next one, which is a reaction. So we want to take stress actions, not make stress reactions. Because if we can shift our thinking around our stress, right? What if stress is happening for us and not to us? We tend to be so reactionary to things that happen in our life, right? But instead, if we had a plan for how we were going to take care of those actions, then we could align them with what the stress is telling us, right? The discomfort in one area might just be like if we see the weight is not what we want it to be, then it's just a concern where we're like, I have to do something. The same thing happens with all this other stress. Like analyze, why am I having this level of stress? Why am I reacting to it this way? And what is my plan against the stress? We all know that if we have a plan, it's going to have a different outcome than if we just do whatever it feels like at that moment. Um, the stress is really a way to show us what we want or need to grow. And when we can keep that perspective in mind, we can have a different outcome for sure. In fact, Tony has this concept of um, worthy opponents. So, like if there's an adversary in our life, he says, "Ooh, a worthy opponent," and someone's going to make him push against him because that's going to help him grow. And the same thing can happen with us about our stressors. We can see them as worthy opponents. Like this stress is showing up. This is a challenge for me. This is a way for me to grow to the next level. Um, Especially if you can assign it that level of this is the plan I'm going to attack. So if you have this kind of arsenal of weapons you're going to use against the different levels, then when it happens, you just go to your list and you're like, okay, I'm going to apply this tool or I'm going to do this thing. And you make the tool match the problem you're up against. So a level 1, your conundrum, right? Sometimes it's just as easy as saying an affirmation. So technology issue, I've got this. I can do this. I'm a problem solver. Just positive talk to yourself can talk you out of that in a second. Some people like to use Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, where she counts backwards when she hears that negative talk in her head, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and she's done. And that really helps to stop some of the issues going on. Lori Ann is saying that she's started severely eliminating people or lessening her involvement when she can't completely remove the person in her life that's causing her stress. Perfect plan already. And what's great is that when you have that plan in place, you're like, okay, it's almost like you're watching a movie of your life when the situation happens, because you're not thinking about it like I'm in the middle of it. You're thinking, this is where I apply this plan. This is where I do this. This is my response in these types of situations. And so, for instance, when you have a concern, instead of focusing on all the bad things that could happen, maybe you focus instead, you have a more positive outlook, because 50-50 chance one thing's going to happen over the other. So let's instead, when we're stressed about something, when we're worried or we're anxious, give as much time at least to the other side of it. And of course, when bringing gratitude as a tool, that just is exponentially it expands our ability to tackle that. Level 3, this can be done with attitude. A position you take almost where you're like, I'm always calm in crises. That could be your persona that you step into. You're like, you're that person and you know it. And so when crisis happens, everybody knows to look to you to be the one, because you're always cool, calm, and collected. And you just know that that's who you are in your heart. And you hold the appropriate level of stress for that situation. Level 4, obviously that's harder. That's when we have our severe things that happen. But that's where faith comes in. That's where you got to dig deep for your belief in bigger than you, and things are going to work out the way that it's meant to. Makes me think of like survivor belief when, what did the people that would get on like shipwrecks on desert islands or whatever. And when they got there would be the people who didn't make it were the ones who wrote the note about, if I don't survive, I want my family to know. They've actually done studies, and the people who didn't write the note, who believed when they hit the ground that there was going to be a solution they were going to find, they lived. And so don't write the note, right? Give yourself the belief system of, I've got this. I'm not going to get stuck in a life I don't like, that I don't enjoy, that I'm not living to my fullest. In fact, action has a positive connotation. I was looking up the definitions and the difference between action and reaction. Actions are planned, and it usually results in an accomplishment. So if you're a checkbox kind of person, when you have a planned action versus a reaction, which tends to be more of a negative connotation, a negative vibe to that, or is a feeling in response to something that happened, that puts you at a better alignment if you're doing the actions versus the reactions. And like I said earlier, awareness, once you know something, you're going to start to see it. So just this conversation is going to open you up to seeing what's going on with your stress. And so when you see it, Now you can take action against it and start to identify and see the patterns. And don't be hard on yourself when this goes on, right? This is going to open you up to better solutions so that the answers are available for you. I think that's going to be really, really helpful for you. So your body needs to know that your mind is in control. It can rest in the knowing that you're going to make good decisions, that you are going to move forward and do the thing that you're meant to do. In Christianity, we're told that we have authority over evil spirits, right? We can declare the same thing within our own minds. We can say, you have no authority over me. I get to have the life that I'm meant to have. And you can speak truth into your own life. Because we all have all the tools that we need. In fact, everything we need is actually within us. I like to think of a seed. We have that little seed. It has everything that it needs to live out its life is inside that seed. It doesn't need anything else. I mean, a little bit of sunshine and some water, but it already has its purpose defined for it. And we are the same way. We have everything we need within us. So when we're taking external things and freaking out about them, we're losing touch with the greatness within us, the thing within us that is our purpose, our power, our potential. So if we can focus not on the stress, but on the condition that's going to get us to the next level, I think we're going to see a lot more satisfaction and be able to solve our own problems. So I do believe that if you have stress in your life right now, you also have the ability to master it and to take on a different belief system. So I hope you will find this all very informative and very useful going forward. If you need help with your blueprint, with the plans for de-escalating the things, the stressors that you have, your reactions, or if you need help thinking up actions to help you combat some of those stressors, I am here for you. I am looking for people that want to do hot seats in the new community. Some of you know I'm working really hard on my platform to get us to the point where everybody can go over to this new platform. Technology is not going to get the best of me, by the way, but I'm going to do some hot seats. And so if you are a candidate for a hot seat, if you would like to, I'm going to call them greenhouses because I just think that concept is way better, but we're going to take the idea of where you are and help you grow a little bit more in that idea. And so it would just be time one-on-one on a video, and then I'll be putting that up in the community for other people to learn from your experience and see how they can take the information from you and grow. Perfect. Kathy's saying she would love to do that. Thank you. And then anybody else that wants to do that, just let me know. And I am going to open us up to a mastermind. I know there are people watching on the Facebook side of it. I am going to go into the Facebook and put an invite into here if you want to come and join us and come up on the screen. So give me a second to get that done. And I do know we have our other Kathy Cass. So just to add to the confusion, I have two Kathys with one spells her last name C-A-S-E and one C-A-S-S. So Kathy Cass is also a hypnotist with a background in helping people with stress issues. So she was going to pop on and give us a little bit of assistance in this topic, which I think would be fantastic. But she is on the other side and I can't pull her in that way. So if you are on the other side, you're going to need to take this invite and pop on into here. So I'm going out into the group now, into this particular post and getting us up. This entire time, by the way, as much commenting as we've done and everything, I see nothing on my phone. So I really apologize for those of you that are commenting and stuff in there. I do not know why that is my challenge point, but it is my challenge point right now. Do you like the way I didn't say it was a problem? Okay. I am in here now, and I am going to post the link to get in if you want to come in. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring us on live. So, all right. I'm going to make sure you guys have the mic. And I'm going to add us to, there we go. Okay. What did you guys think of tonight's training? Was it useful?
Yes. I think I have my blueprint right now, so I'm excited.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that.
I have to work on it, but it was like, that was a major step for me, and I conquered it, and it'll be 4 years this Christmas Eve.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So
good. I'm going to be curious to see how that's working for you. Some of the ladies in the group have been meeting with me once a week, doing a case study. So they identify a goal they're working on before the end of the year. And then every week we're jumping on and we're just finding out, they identify the goal they have and what it is they want to be doing to meet that goal and what that step is going to be. And then the next week we just get on, we find out how the goal is going overall and whether or not they have met their assignment from the week before. So if you want to get in on that, the videos are like 5 to 10 minutes and I'm putting them all together for us so that we'll have kind of a menu of people with different goals and what they did to solve them. So if you want to be a part of that, that'd be great.
Sure.
Lori, I see you in the group, but your camera's not on. So if you have the feature there to put yourself on, great. If not, I'm going to take your mute off and you can at least talk to us if you want. Nope, you have to unmute yourself. Okay. Kathy, did you have any insights? What I was really hoping to do in this mastermind is it doesn't have to be about the stuff we went over tonight, but about stress. Like, where are you in your life about this, and what solutions do you see that might be helpful?
So one of the challenges that I run into is that I know all the tools, I know how to do it, but when I'm in the middle of it, especially when I'm getting hit left and right, and my head is, it can be really difficult to apply those tools.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my biggest challenge is, especially right now where I don't even get a chance. I get slapped, and before I can even recover from that slap, there's another one. So,
Interesting. So you feel beat up by the situations in your life.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
When I sit back, when the dust has settled, I can get my mind into the right place. But in the midst of it, it can be really hard. I believe in Tony's 90-second rule. I believe that, you need to give yourself that 90 seconds to be angry, to feel the feelings, and then you're best off to change your mindset. However you need to do that. Get up, do something different, exercise, breathe. Whatever tool you want to use, you apply it, because you can't effectively work on that issue, whatever that challenge is, when your mind is in a negative place. You're never going to get the best possible outcome for it.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to change that mindset, because in the meantime, you're only hurting yourself. You're not coming up with a solution. You're causing stress. I've learned more than I want to know about the 18-minute rule with cortisol levels, from the time that you finally calm down to the time that your cortisol levels lower, and how, you talked about diet. You could be watching every morsel that goes in your mouth, but if you're stressed out, you're not going to lose weight. You're not going to lose your belly. And so controlling stress is so critical for every part of your existence. But yet there's times when I get angry. There's times when I knowingly say, you know what, I have a right to be mad, and I'm going to be mad for a little bit longer. And when I recognize that and I state that, then I'm able to turn it when I'm like, okay, I've had enough. But there are times again that it's just not that easy. I haven't come up with a solution yet. I've put the string on the finger and the bracelet on and the pin and like all the different things that I could look toward to try and change it. But yeah, that's my issue with stress right now.
Okay. And so, you know, what Tony would say is he would say, what are you getting from your stress? What reward do you get from having that situation?
Not a damn thing, and I know it. As a matter of fact, especially with my health condition right now, it does a lot more damage than it does good.
Very interesting. Well, we'll keep talking about that.
And
Lorianne, thank you for joining us. Do you have some insights?
My background isn't all perfect, but hey, it is what it is.
That's right. We're happy to have you. Do you have any
One thing
go ahead.
That I was even telling Tina this earlier is sometimes when I feel like overwhelmed with life and like my business and people, I just go back to the bare basics. I do like the bare minimum required for all the above. I tell my people, I'm like, look, I'm not going to be very active today. Certain people know they can get in touch with me if they need anything. I said, but other than that, deuces. And I'll have I'll work till I tell myself, okay, I'm going to do the bare minimum. I'm going to be done by this time. And once that time's up, nothing. I won't get back on Facebook. Won't get back on Instagram, which is mainly where I work from. I just go back to the bare basics. My music will be going, or I'll have like my favorite show to binge watch or whatnot in the background. Even if I have to do like little tasks around my house or whatnot, because environment is a big thing when it comes to mood too. Sometimes you just need to change your environment. Sometimes you just need to tidy up your environment and get your mind on for something else other than what you're like trying to focus on. Like right now, my fiance is on house arrest. We're losing like $10,000 because the government is what it is. Could I sit here and be like, okay, these bills aren't getting paid, this? Yes, I can do that all day long. Would I be more stressed? Yes. Would I be more upset and angry and inactive and not want to do anything, not want to communicate with anybody? Of course. But is that going to help me? No. So, like today, I woke up and I didn't feel good. And that was my body saying, like, you've done too much. You just need a rest today. And that's what I did. I turned off my phone and I slept.
Yeah.
Because that's what I needed to do.
Exactly. We have to find our ways that work for us. That's such good insight into yourself. And I think that is so key. It's so easy to get stressed. It's so easy to have that reaction. And especially when it's the norm in the world, right? Like to be the angry person and to say things that is patterned for us, or people are demonstrating that. When we're the other way, it's a whole different way to approach it.
Yeah. I could sit there and dwell on all the stuff that's not going right in my life right now. It'd be easy because there's a lot of it. Yeah, but I'd rather sit there and focus on what I can control. I can talk to my friends. I can be on here. I can, I can watch TV, or I can listen to music. I can do those things. I can clean up my house if I wanted to. I could go and cook if I wanted to. I could go bake if I wanted to. focus on the things that you can do versus what you can't do, and what you can't control will help a lot too.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying about control is such a key part, right? Because that was what I said in the beginning, right? One of the definitions of stress is things we can't control. And so when we look at the big picture, how much of our stress is actually us just having a reaction to not being able to control the things in our life?
Exactly.
Yeah. And some things aren't controllable. I mean, Sarah with her brain aneurysms, she had to lose her career and learn to walk again. I don't know. Were you able to talk and everything afterwards, Sarah? Did you have to do language?
Yes, I was able to talk, but I talk better now than what I used to. And because of medications I was on, I didn't drive for a few years. So I used when my daughter was at work, and if I had an appointment, I had to use what they call just like the disabled or senior rider service, and someone would come and transport me to different appointments and things like that. So yeah, the first 5 years were really tough. I had prescription sunglasses because I had migraines 24/7 for 5 years, and I used. I have to admit, sometimes I just have to remind myself of those first 5 years, because it was a treat if I could sit there in the dark at night and watch TV with those sunglasses on. That was a good day. And so I had, sometimes I have to make myself remember how far I've come.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm thinking about going back to the company I used to work for. I can't do the AutoCAD anymore and design buildings, but I was also an assistant project manager. And there is some things that I used to do there that I think I could do now. So
that's amazing.
I'm ready to step out and see if I can maybe work 4 hours a day.
Yeah, that would be great for you. Well, again, having that positive outlook is so important. Kathy has messaged me that she's having trouble with her Safari browser coming into StreamYard. We didn't test that beforehand. So, Kathy, if you are watching, what we will do is do that Zoom together, and we'll put it up in the group for everybody to see about the work that you do for helping people with stress. So don't feel bad that you can't get on. We'll make it happen another time.
My iPad wasn't letting me in here. I actually had to go to my phone and go through a couple channels to get in here. So I feel her pain.
Wait. Kathy's here. Oh, guess what, everybody? There's another layer of the audience. I can only see 4 people at a time.
Oh, geez.
There's another layer of
Hi,
the
everyone.
audience. I can only see 4 people at a time.
Hi.
Okay, Kathy, I think your phone might be repeating me. So if you just getting it? I'm going to mute you until you can turn off your phone. Then just wave and I'll let you back on. All right. Well, good. It worked. I'm not sure if she had to go to her computer. We'll find out in a second. Okay. I bet you it's working now. How's that, Kathy?
I think that's better. Did you unmute me or can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can also hear me feedback in there.
Oh, sorry for the confusion. We can hear you, but we can also hear me feedback. Hold on.
I've muted you until it's just something that happens with dual. If you have me up twice. Okay. It's just something that happens with dual. If you have All right. We'll get Kathy on here soon. Yes, I love it. Kathy says technology. I should be saying I love technology and technology loves me. What's fun is that Tony Robbins in his Business Mastery has a guy who comes on and does accounting. His name is Keith Cunningham. And his whole thing is because so many people don't like accounting or numbers, that he has us say, I love numbers and numbers love me. And we do it through the whole event. And the funny thing is I love numbers. I really do. I became a math teacher. Numerology, all that stuff. I love numbers. And so I love the technology thing because it's such a great reminder to me of who I am in my core, right? Like, and I used to train technology. That's the thing that I think is amazing is how can today's technology be kicking my butt when I used to teach people how to use stuff? All right. When I used to teach people how to use stuff. Oh, we're still hearing it, Kathy. I'm not sure what's going
I
on.
turned my phone off, so I don't know if it is my phone.
Okay. Do you have a speaker or something on there? I'll tell you what, I'm going to shut my stuff off and I'm going to let you talk.
Kathy, do you still have Facebook on?
I'm going to shut my stuff off and I'm going to let you talk.
Okay. No. Oh, I don't know if I do. Let me see. Maybe I'll get rid of that. Okay. Are you gone now? Are you?
Yeko's gone, yay!
Oh, I don't know where you are now. I can't see you.
We can see you and hear you.
Yeah, you know what? I probably don't have time to keep going with this. And I don't want, I appreciate so much you're giving me the opportunity to help and meet people. And I loved everything that you said. It was wonderful, very helpful. But if you'd like, I can't see you, but I would be happy to share one little thing if you would, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. And I'll just say that there are like many ways to relieve stress, which we know. But breathing is a wonderful, easy thing that's always available to us. And I'm just going to say there are different ways to breathe. And if you breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, as we normally do, there are many benefits for circulation, for helping the nervous system to relax. And if you breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, that's a really good technique for reducing stress if you're very stressed out. And then if you're in an emotional meltdown, breathing through the mouth, in and out, is very effective. It goes right to the heart, which is the seat of a lot of our emotions, or all of our emotions. So when we're really stressed to that level, we can breathe in and out through the mouth until we start to relax, until the energy moves through us. And all that stress is energy, and that's what we need to remember. And the other way of breathing is actually through the skin. And so when we can just relax and breathe, and I mean, it might take a while to devote your time to doing a yoga breathing exercise or just whatever breathing method you know that relaxes you, to go ahead and use that. But you can imagine the air is just sweeping your body clean and letting everything out through the pores. Your breath does two things. Number one, it helps you to relax. And the other thing, it also brings in positive energy. So you can let go of anything that's troubling you on the exhalation, and you can bring in light, sound, color, images of peace and harmony and love. So that's just one little thing. I hope it's helpful, but and I have to run actually and pick up somebody who's going to be waiting for me. So.
All right. That's perfect. Thank you so much, Kathy. I really appreciate it. Yeah, that was great. And we'll have time together to do another one where we can put it in the group. So really appreciate you. I appreciate all of you, and that you've been on here for an hour and 15 minutes. So I don't want to keep you any longer. And I'll be getting in touch with you guys if you want to do the hot seats. So just let me know and we'll do a one-on-one and kind of work through what's going on with you. and hopefully help you get to the other end of your stressor so that we can be who we're designed to be without the extra layer of chaos in our energy field. All right?
Thank you, Tina.
You guys are so welcome. Have a really great night, and we will talk soon for sure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.